You're listening to the Youth Critic podcast on KHZ Network. Find us on Facebook at Decibel UNG Radio and find us on Twitter at Decibel UNG. If you like this episode, please leave a like and comment on our iTunes page at KHZ Network. And now for the podcast.
If I told you about her, the princess without voice, what would I say?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Youth Critic podcast. I'm your host, Kel Smith. Joining me this week is Gina Aversa from the Waffle Press.
Hey, how you doing? Good to be here in this new year.
Yep, and while it is 2018, Gene, we still are going to go over some 2017 stuff, particularly movies that came out in special engagements in Los Angeles and New York, but are just now opening where I'm at. So this week we are going to be talking about The Shape of Water, which has actually been out in nationwide for a while, but we just haven't on the show, and we just haven't had a chance to talk about it on the show. And then later in the show, we'll talk about Paul Thomas Anderson's new movie, Phantom Thread. And then we'll talk about The Post. Just to kind of end things out. And starting with Eugene, why do you love The Shape of Water so much?
Well, it was my favorite movie of last year. Can't believe it's last year now. But I think it's like Del Toro at his most Del Toro-iness as the black and white dancing show. But it's just him and monsters, and a studio just gave him a lump sum of money and just said go wild. And it's kind of like a passion project he's been trying to make for a while. He's talked about this. I think he had like an idea, maybe like in 2012, where he said he wanted to do a black and white movie, which I think he confirmed that this was his black and white movie. And he can do black and white, but the fact he got it made, and it's just such a perfect film. It's Vic, and it's just everything great about Del Toro in one movie. And kind of timely too, I guess.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic all the way through, and I currently at the moment have it on my number 1, 2, as well as the best movie of the year, because not only is it timely, but it's also it's very interesting. And even as I was watching it the second time around this week, it's very interesting how Del Toro puts things in the movie that are kind of subtle. I don't know if you caught that, Richard Jenkins is turning his painting over, and his publicist or distributor was wanting him to, paint the Jell-O green to make it more family.
Yeah.
And then later in the movie, when Michael Shannon's character is Michael Shannon is not in love with the color green in the movie, because of the creature. And of course he gets, and of course in the movie, his wife comes in with a Jell-O parfait that's green.
Yeah.
So it's just, and I know it's small moments, but it's moments like that make me love writing and directing in movies, because it's just, a director thinking constantly about his movie and what to put in the scene to make it that much more impactful, to make it that much more and just keep adding more stuff in, and stuff that you get
reinforcing ideas.
Sorry.
Reinforcing ideas.
Yes, and using those to kind of build the characters as they're building the tension or relief in characters. Because green in this movie kind of does represent, the creature and, the water itself, because it's because water is kind of like in this movie, it's kind of like it's kind of looking like a teal color, and just so every time like the character is surrounded by green in his Cadillac or in the office or just anywhere, and he's just constantly reminded of his failure to keep this creature under control. So it's just those kind of things to heighten the character. And also what I also like about this movie is every character gets a scene in this 2-hour movie to basically develop them even further. Rather it's Michael Jenkins and his minor subplot with the guy at the pie shop, or Sally Hawkins with or even Octavia Spencer and all the conversations we know about her husband, building that character forward. So when we see him finally in the third act of the movie, we finally get a sense of this. We don't need, a character introduction. We already know who this character is and what he's going to do. And even more reinforcing kind of the biblical story of that Michael Shannon, brings up, towards Delilah and Elsa at the beginning of the movie. So it's just all really, it's just, for me, it's what I love. And this is why I also really, not to get into another 3-hour conversation, but this is why I also like Star Wars as well. It's like little moments as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a very nuanced film. Shape of Water and Star Wars as well. Yeah. I think some things I didn't even catch that you were saying for Shape of Water. So, it's that deep of a film.
It is, and I know it's I know that's what the job of the director is. I mean, even in Baby Driver, there's things in every Edgar Wright movie, there's always something you can pick on every time you rewatch those movies. But I feel like that's what the director should do, is to constantly keep adding things in the frame. So when you go back, you have a whole new experience every time you rewatch the movie.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so you brought up that Del Toro always wanted to do a black and white movie. So, and he finally does, or a little bit.
For a scene, yeah. For a scene.
But the movie montages a lot of old monster movies. Even the score, Alexandre Desplat's score, is very reminiscent of science fiction 50s movies. And this,
I forgot he does the score as well. Desplat.
Well, it's their first collaboration. Usually he works with, I think, Marco Beltrami or Danny Elfman, or he's worked with he's worked with a lot of composers over the years, but yeah, this was their first collaboration, and I think it was a perfect match. But getting into the movie, what did you think about the performances of the film?
The performances are great. I don't know to praise Doug Jones or Sally Hawkins first, but I'll go with both. Like Doug Jones is like always great in like everything he does. Like I wish he was the voice of the Silver Surfer, because it matches it well. Yeah, he's even he's good in like everything he does. He has such a presence.
You don't like
Larry... even bad movies. What's that?
You don't like Larry Fishburne's voice in Silver Surfer?
I don't see the Silver Surfer's voice as imposing as it was for Lawrence Fishburne. I like Lawrence Fishburne, I love Lawrence Fishburne, but I don't know, when I'm reading comics and the Silver Surfer comes up, I see something more Ape Sapien-y. Like it's not as loud, boisterous. It's more like cold and like soft in a way. So that's how I always call the Silver Surfer. My ideal Silver Surfer is Keanu Reeves.
Oh yeah, that could work.
Yeah, it'd be a nice callback to Point Break as well.
Yeah, that would Yeah, that would be great.
But anyway, I digest. Yeah, just everything he does is awesome. And you know, Sally Hawkins, you know, if her character, actually, both the characters don't speak in a way when growls, but you know, for her, she like carries this film without saying like a word of dialogue. Well,
well, I mean, she, you know, does sign language.
right? Yeah, I'm sorry, not excuse me. Where she because yeah, sign is dialogue. Excuse me. Where
I mean,
she
not
does
speaking dialogue.
right, no speaking dialogue. I correct myself. So yeah, you know, the fact that like she carries, you know, this character, and like really gives her like such a life and soul is just amazing, you know.
Yeah, and it is an incredible performance because, especially in the scene where, I should say full spoilers, even though we haven't spoiled anything. I just don't want to spoil anything on accident, without the spoiler warning up. But the spoiler is, Sally Hawkins is trying to convince Richard Jenkins' character to help her, you know, free the creature from the facility. And she has that amazing, you know, emotional scene where she's, you know, doing the sign language, and he's describing, and he's like saying what she's saying, and you're just feeling everything that she's saying through the performance, without like the subtitles or anything. You just feel that, you know, you're feeling what she believes, and you're feeling her point in all the and her point in it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Yeah.
I hope she gets some recognition for that.
I think she will. I think she will. I think this will be. I don't think this is a year where she'll win the Oscar, but I think she'll get a nomination for sure.
Yeah, she's great in everything. Also, commend, because I love Michael Shannon, like, but so villainous in this one, and even for like his villains, this was like a higher notch than usually how, like, you know, I wouldn't say creepy, but like how like disturbing his villains are, you know.
Yeah, I will say, you know, if there is one fault I had with the movie, is it is written very ham-fisted. His part is a little bit ham-fisted, like it's really trying to force a point. But Michael Shannon plays the role so well that you don't really care that much. That it's like overly, like a little over the top written. It's Michael Shannon like giving that good of a performance. And on top of that, it's, you know, his performance is with other. His performance has, you know, there's scenes in there where he's just not talking that much. You just see him thinking, and it's cut so well with, you know, scenes that have come before. Rather, if it's talking to his, you know, superior, superior, or you know, or like having, you know, or after having a conversation with Michael Stolberg's character, it's, you know, it's real. Like he just has moments where he's just sitting there thinking, not talking much, and you just feel what he's thinking. You can feel the anger just stemming off, and it's just great acting from Shannon.
Yeah, and he's, you know, he's awesome in like everything. So it, you know, I'm glad to see him like in this film, you know.
Yeah, I'm really happy, and I'm glad he was utilized. His villainy was utilized very well, which I can't say for everything he's done, but I thought he was used very well. I thought he did a fantastic job. And I always liked Michael Shannon. Last year, my favorite movie of the year was Midnight Specials, and I really liked him in that movie as an appearance. So I'm happy that he gave another really great performance.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, what else can we say? We both love the movie, so it's hard to like have any discuss. It's hard to discuss the movie because we both love it so much.
What is the what's your take on the car when he buys the Cadillac?
what's my take on when he buys the Cadillac?
Yeah.
It-
'Cause I was a little like, I don't know what to make of that scene.
Oh,
Like, I know there's a point to it, but
I always think of it as, it's a manifestation of his his egotism and what's the other word? Um, it's a manifestation of his toxic masculinity.
Okay.
And it's been violated because something was taken from him, something that he was in control of.
It's like a Freudian thing.
Yeah, I think it's a Freudian thing.
Okay. It's compensating for something else.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have to understand, I think, and I'm not a car person, but I think weren't Cadillacs like a huge thing during the 50s?
Yeah, no, that was a big car in the 50s. That was like the car.
Yeah. I mean, you have to understand, this is a person who describes his middle finger as a pussy finger.
Yeah, no, of course. So, yeah, that's his character.
Yeah, and when that is violated because the creature was taken, and of course, in that same scene, Richard Jenkins busts his car. Like it all is going into the mindset of everything is being taken, everything's being degraded to him. Even his military officer degrades him in a human way, not his toxic masculinity, but his humanity.
Yeah, it'll make him like a living in a parallel universe, which is a great thing. Which is,
Can you say that one more time?
Oh, I said her. It's such a great scene where the military man. It was a really great scene.
Yeah, it's a really good scene. It's a very good scene in the movie. It's a good scene because we're talking about the one at the end towards the third act, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just checking. It's a great scene because it puts kind of the war in a perspective through the movie's eyes, and how the movie views the Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
And it views it as this way of it views it in this excuse me, I'm at a loss for words. It puts it in this paradigm of like, this is how it was to this military, and of course the military are in charge, or they are the last standing of every science experiment. And of course, military, I don't mean this in a terrible way, but I don't think it's never ever wise to put the military in charge of science.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't mean that in a terrible way. I just mean it's always best to let scientists kind of make the moral decisions.
Right. And that, always happens. Something always happens when they don't listen to a scientist in a movie. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
many folks back you up.
Yeah. I mean, stuff did happen. A creature got loose. But yeah, I'm just fascinated by the movie. I saw this movie a month ago at an early screening for the film. I think it was like an award screening for the movie that they had for the critic, for press and people like from the for people to kind of check out before the nominations were completed. And I loved it then, and I saw it last week, and I'm just still fascinated even more. I think it's one of the better movies of the year, and I just love all the characters and how in the last and how basically at the end of the movie the people standing are the old gay character in Richard Jenkins, and then the black woman. They're sitting there, or they're standing at the edge of the pier wondering what has happened to their friend Elsa, who has also been damaged by life. So I just love So yeah, I don't know. I love this movie in every capacity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's my favorite movie. So
yeah,
of the year.
Mm-hmm. So with that said, I think. Are you ready to move on to Phantom Thread?
For a very long time.
Of course.
You look beautiful. Very beautiful. I have things I want to do. Things I simply cannot do without you.
Reynolds has made my dreams come true, and I have given him what he desires most in return. Every piece of me. Why are you not married?
Her arrival has cast a very long shadow.
She's barely looked at you this evening, has she?
May I warn you of something? My brother can feel cursed, that love is doomed for him.
I don't like the fabric.
Maybe one day you'll change your taste.
Maybe I like my own taste.
Just enough to get you into trouble.
Perhaps I'm looking for trouble.
All right, so Gene, you're going to have to help me on this because I forgot to ask you before we did the show, but I missed like the first 2 or 3 minutes of the movie because I had to, like, there was just traffic getting to the theater.
Okay.
And I had some like trouble like getting my ticket. So do you remember what happened in the first 2 minutes of the movie? Like the setup?
I believe it's just like the Reynolds woodcar going through the house, and I think it's like just like credits of him making a dress. I'm having a little difficulty remembering the first 2 minutes.
All right, that's fine because I walked in like just as he was like leaving the house. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, and also the other issue is I'm kind of like in the middle of this for this movie. I love what it's going for, but I don't really care about it that much.
Okay.
So Gene, I'm gonna put you on the spot, and why don't you just go ahead and tell what are your thoughts on Phantom Thread before I go deep into mine?
Well, it's a very acquired taste, like some Paul Thomas Anderson movies. There are, I love Paul Thomas Anderson. All his films are great. There are some films that just don't translate well to people. I mean, if you look at like Magnolia, you still have people not getting the frog. You still have people. The only takeaway from that movie is the frogs, which, I mean, it's a mysterious scene, but that's their only thing about the movie is the frogs. And sometimes he's like kind of, I wouldn't say weird, but kind of a little perplexing sometimes. And I don't know. Yeah, you have to watch his movies in a certain mindset, I will say. If they're movies that rain frogs or films about, the porn industry, or like a movie where the wife poisons someone with mushrooms. They're all their own thing. So I will say that.
Yeah, and I think
mushrooms are how they they're into mushrooms. We'll say that.
Yeah, and I was in a crowded theater when I saw this last night because in Atlanta there was only like a handful of theaters that were showing the movie, and there's still only a handful of theaters showing the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting at the Midtown Arts Cinema watching this full of people, and it was like mostly dead silent for the occasional laugh. And then spoilers, the movie ends with Ima poisoning Daniel Day-Lewis's character with mushrooms. Not I don't think to kill him, although it was kind of ambiguous like what was going to happen at that point.
Yeah, it's someone I heard the best description of Phantom Thread where it's like someone was like, it's kinky as hell is what their thing was.
It is kinky as hell, even though I never thought you could I never thought you could get kinky being sick.
Some people surprise you.
I know. But yeah, that was kind of the oddity of the movie, because you could feel like the moment Daniel Day-Lewis's character realizes what's happening and what he has eaten, and then he has that moment of acceptance. Everyone just bursts into laughter,
Right.
because it's just like it's so odd and awkward that you are just like, okay, we're going for this, and then the movie ends 5 minutes later.
You just have to go with it.
But yeah, one of the and you're right about acquired taste. I think that's what happened with his last movie as well, Inherent Vice, is that you kind of had to be in the mindset for a movie that doesn't really have. I don't think Inherent Vice has a narrative drive. I don't think it does.
I don't think so. It's very like darn it, sorry. Getting used to the iPhone. It's very like kind of voyeuristic, a little abstract. So yeah, like his style in that movie was a little abstract. So
Yeah. And so going to this, where the movie is beautifully shot, wonderfully acted, and then you get down to like trying to critique the story. The story is more about, or the way I kind of interpret the story, you can tell me, Gene, if I'm on the right track or not. For me, this story is about a woman who's trying to poison the child, the kind of, the man child out of Daniel Day-Lewis.
yeah, you could definitely see it as that. I guess it's I think it's more centered around her than him. I could
that too.
I could agree with that.
And the reason why I say that is because the movie, or the dialogue, references a lot, or Ima calls him a lot in the first third of the movie a child. A child that's just whiny, and the sister doesn't want to do anything about it, even though she's kind of fed up with it as well.
Yeah.
And she finally reaches her breaking point when he just loses it at his own birthday dinner. And that's where we get the mushroom, and afterwards she sees that the psychological effect of him nearly dying can change him, and that's where we start on the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And then when he finally, gets more and more like back to his old self, he gets poisoned again, and I think that's the whole idea of the movie, is that she's trying to make him more of a husband, in the same way that he was trying to make her his kind of like into like his model / mannequin that he can put dresses on.
Yeah, it's he kind of I don't know, learns to be a better husband. I guess tries to be a better husband through these mushrooms, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's kind of his arc.
Yeah. It's an odd movie. It's I still am trying to think a lot about it. But the thing is, I still like the thing with Paul Thomas Anderson, in all of his movies look great, but this one particularly looked great. And it just and it just has this nice filter to it. So it's just and it's I don't know, all the technical stuff is really great, and it's all centered around a person, being kinked by mushrooms, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know what that says, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of an interesting movie. It's an interesting I almost call it like an interesting discussion on the roles of marriage.
Yeah.
But do you have any more thoughts on Phantom Thread?
Did you see it in like film or 70 millimeter or something?
I think I saw this in digital. I'm pretty sure I saw this in digital. Unfortunately,
I will say. Oh, okay. I will say it looks really nice in 70 millimeter. So if anyone has a chance to see it like that, it's really cool.
Yeah, I hoped and prayed because I was looking at like showtimes and there was 70 millimeter prints going across the country, not just LA and New York.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of hopeful, but as far as I know, they did not do a 70 millimeter print here or 70 millimeter release here in Atlanta. As far as I know, I might be wrong, but last I checked, they did not do 70 millimeter here.
Okay, well, that's fair. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, the 35 millimeter cinematography looks incredible.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So one more thing. I really hope this isn't Daniel Day-Lewis's last movie.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. He said that his last movie was going to be like, I forgot what movie, it was Lincoln or something, and he came back. I mean, for all we know, it could be, but you never know. There could be a role that he'll enjoy. So I mean, he'll like enough to like come out of retirement. So
I mean, he already looks like he could. I don't know if you saw the Golden Globes, but he already looks like he could play a comic book character. He almost looks like Sinestro a little bit.
Sinestro, yeah, I could see him as Sinestro.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just I say I hate it because he's such a great actor, and I know he can. I've heard he can sometimes be a little hard to deal with because it's a method acting, and still, I just always appreciate all of his work. Even in movies, I'm like, that's okay. Like, yeah, I like his work a lot, and it'll be sad. It'll be sad if this is the last one. So, yeah, because it's fantastic. It's a fantastic way to go out, but still, I just hope there's more Daniel Day-Lewis, even if we have to wait like 5 or 10 more years.
No, of course, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we're kind of moving along pretty quickly, so let's get on to the post.
Okay.
So, can I ask you a hypothetical question?
Oh, dear, I don't like hypothetical questions.
Well, I don't think you're gonna like the real one either.
Do you have the papers?
Not yet.
This is a devastating security breach that was leaked out of the Pentagon. The most highly classified documents of the war.
Very, very, very timely out of all the films.
Yeah.
Out of everything. You could really relate to some of those characters. Huh?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't work exclusively in press. Like, I don't consider what I do press. This is more like blog. This is blogging for me. But but yeah, I always look at the that hashtag fake news, and I'm like, this is problematic.
Yeah.
And then and then of course, I think Spielberg also saw this at the whole fake news. Every time fake news is brought up in either our president's tweets or in speeches or what, or every time he talks, I think Spielberg saw those and also thought it was problematic deeply. And it is an understatement. It's problematic.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't talk; he spews just garbage.
Yeah, it's like a vomit of hate. But
yeah, I think this was the movie, I guess, the country needed right now. I try to recommend everyone to see it. It is very timely, but it's also like very, I guess, I wouldn't maybe like inspiring, maybe like heartening, makes you believe in something that, this is how good reporting is done, and the power of like the press, and how how it could change the world in a way.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, the whole idea of the movie is the press is the last line of defense when it comes to critiquing our emperors. And I don't mean to call presidents or people in power emperors, but that's really kind of the analogy that it is. It's the last line of defense because because when everyone holds power, everyone uses their full presidency, or they abuse their power. It's up to the press to basically create the social justice that will keep people aware and keep people fighting for their rights.
Of course, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was like, I'm so glad Steven Spielberg decided to do this like before Ready Player One, and the time to do this, and like it's a very I guess political statement by him, and it's just so great in the film, like the fact Nixon's only like shot in like a silhouette from a distance, and it's actual audio with a body double,
Yeah,
that's a really smart decision, and
it creates an eeriness towards
Nixon. Mm-hmm. It's like this otherworldly evil, which he was.
Yeah,
and yeah, it was it's just so well made, and like I'm so glad John Williams came back, because he's been kind of absent, well, understandably, from the last few Spielberg movies. Like, I don't think he's been on a project with him since Lincoln. He's obviously been Star Wars.
Well, actually, he did the BFG.
Okay, he did the BFG?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
he
did bow out of not Ready Player One. Well, Bridge of Spies, because of not only Star Wars, but because I think he was also having health issues at the time.
Oh, of course.
But because everyone kind of forgets I think he's like 85 or in his late 80s.
Yeah, he's up there.
Yeah, and so they brought in Thomas Noonan for Bridge of Spies, and I think Newman did a good job, and
yeah, but yeah, just the music's just like so incendiary in the post.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for this one he did an excellent job, and just
yeah, I think like Spielberg brings like the best in John Williams, so it's cool to see them again.
Yeah, and
vice versa.
And Williams only explicitly works with either Spielberg or Star Wars now. Like,
yeah, or I guess, yeah, if it has the Lucasfilm brand, but he did do the Book Thief as well.
Yeah, and that was I did not see that movie, but I thought that was an interesting choice for him to kind of go back to and work on.
Right. Yeah, I think he does like other films on occasion. Like he did the Book Thief. He did like Memories of a Geisha. So yeah, he's been known to do other stuff, But it was great to see them back together. I will say that. And I was going to ask you, did your theater cheer at any moments, like when they decided to publish? Or my theater was. I don't know if that. Or anything.
I saw this at 9 or 10 o'clock last night, so there wasn't that many people at my screening, because I saw I can only see Phantom Thread in the post at like either 7 or 9 or 7 or 10. So yeah, I could not. I didn't have a full screening during mine, and also, I don't know if this was completely a problem with the projector at my theater, but a lot of shots in the movie were not completely in focus like they should have been.
Oh, okay. That's not good.
Yeah, which is like infuriating, because you come out of Phantom Thread and it's like, oh, like Phantom Thread is like beautifully projected and it was beautifully shot and all that, and you go into this and you're like, was this like a choice to keep things out of focus? Was it a choice to, like, was that, or is it the projector like just not being calibrated correctly? Either way, the only times the audience kind of reacted to things were like some cringe moments of like people like kind of degrading Kay, or the occasional comment about the Vietnam War at the beginning of the movie, where they were like, where Matthew Reese's character goes, well, it's about the same. The war is about the same as progression. And of course, Greenwood's like, well, we just sent 100,000 more people and you're saying the same. So I think it's worse. So there were some people that were like, yeah, this war's not, there was a couple of people that kind of uttered out of their mouth, yeah, this war is not working. And yeah, so there wasn't much of an audience reaction, but I did smile a lot, or I was tense a lot. I smiled a lot at the end, and then I was tense throughout the film because the movie does a phenomenal job of building up the stakes.
Oh yeah, of course. It's very tense. Like it's kind of like a play in a way. It's like almost in one room for most of the movie, and yeah, it's super tense.
Yeah, it is, and well, it's super tense because you're because of the buildup of what Nixon is going to do to the New York Times, because they're being taken out by Nixon and his party, and also you feel for the Post because they because you hear that they're kind of struggling a little bit, like their stock is not as good as it was before. It's all like a lot of the movie is built up to stakes, and then you get to real stakes where they are on the verge of publishing and things could go horribly wrong for them.
No, like getting sued. And I will say, just adding to just how the Nixon is used in the film, he's a Saruman type supervillain, like how, they portray him, which how he was in real life. And I'm saying this as someone that like lived, so it's pretty accurate to how he was in actuality.
Yeah. What? Can you say that one more time? I'm sorry.
Oh, I said someone that like grew up in that lives in the town he grew up in. It's very accurate to how he was in presidency.
Okay, got you. Wow. Yeah, and well, I mean, just from history reports, he got more and more of a shadow figure as his presidency went along.
He was a very paranoid person, and yeah, he's like the movie portrays just that like that character says he's like a SOB, like a
yeah.
He adds to the stakes as well.
And what I loved a lot about this movie is it is centered on Meryl Streep's character, Kay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can't not talk about her.
She, the whole, I argue the whole arc of the movie is about her inserting her power and her finally coming to terms with, she has to utilize her power to make tough decisions.
Right.
And this is, what it's like to, make tough decisions, especially during tough times when a war is going on and you could, and there is a danger of not only you going to jail, but you could hurt, people overseas, especially since the movie makes comment that her own son was in the Vietnam War.
Right.
And, she can relate to, that notion of other mothers that have their other sons in the war currently. And so it's one of those. So I mean, it's a great performance by her, and it's a very well written role. Like
Meryl Streep's great. She'll probably get another Academy Award for it, no doubt. And she portrays her well. You can see her conflict, her pain, especially being like a female owner of like a female owner of like a newspaper at that time. Very very inspiring.
Especially when everyone else in the room is a man, and
Yeah.
people are paranoid when she comes to work. Like they don't, or they don't. I shouldn't say paranoid, but feel uncomfortable with her presence.
Right.
Because to them it's either sexism, or it's we've never had this before. What's this going to be like?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just very interesting. I really like this movie. The only if there was only one thing I didn't really care, or if there was one thing I wish the movie had done more, is I wish we would have seen more of the court case.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of glosses over it a little bit, but yeah, I mean, it's understandable.
Yeah. The reason why I say that is because we get moments before the trial of people commenting on making absurd claims of trying to compare this to D-Day, or really if it was releasing info about D-Day or whatnot. And while it is absurd, it's an interesting question. I think it's quite of an interesting question to ask, is like, where is the line? Where's the line? And while the audience, we know that they haven't crossed the line, it's just it would be an interesting discussion to have in this movie about what is the line of journalism.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I thought this movie was very well made, and I am very guilty of thinking Spielberg hasn't made a lot of great movies since Munich, or since his 9/11 trilogy, I should say.
Right.
Because because I don't really care. I guess I'm joining the majority of, I don't really care for Indiana Jones 4.
No, yeah, that's. I mean, I will say for Indiana Jones 4, just really quickly, the first 15 minutes are good. The
first third is really good.
Yeah, but but I think he's made, like, I think Lincoln wasn't my cup of tea, but I like Lincoln. Great.
I remember, everyone's gonna be shocked to hear this. When I saw Lincoln, I was so excited because I had been following the project for like years, and when I finally saw the movie, I was just disappointed. I thought, I just was like, it's too. I thought it was just too much of a play. Like, I mean, yes, this movie, the Post is very much structured like a play.
Yeah.
But I felt like this was too much like a play, or the Lincoln was too much like a play, and that there was just too many moments of people sitting and talking in rooms.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Lincoln for me was, I mean, I think it's a really good movie, but the only like criticism I felt was, I felt like I needed a history book to watch it. Like, I needed to like pause it and like look up who is this person, this historical figure. Like, why are they significant? Like,
I thought I was watching a BBC special, not a Steven Spielberg movie.
Yeah, so I mean, I still think Lincoln's good. It's just, I don't know, some stuff
And I don't mean to insult BBC specials. It's just I just didn't see like what was Spielberg about it. Like I was shocked when I reached the end credits and it said directed by Steven Spielberg.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I knew going in that Steven Spielberg directed. It was just when I came out, I just totally forgot, because it just wasn't. And of course, I didn't really care for going back to other Spielberg movies. I didn't really care for War Horse or Tintin.
Okay.
And I really like Bridge of Spies. I actually really like that.
Yeah,
movie.
Bridge of Spies. Yeah. But anyway, back to the Post. Any final thoughts?
I think it's I thought it was an incredible movie. I thought, I'm seeing the movie tomorrow night, so I'll see if it really was, if it was just a theater that had problems with calibration and the focus, because it was a problem at times to like see the movie, because a lot, like, Tom Hanks would be sitting in a chair and his face would be out of focus. Like, it's not like a blur. It's just like, how you have that, you enter in that, outside the shallow depth of field, and it's just a little like separated.
Mhm.
In the how that background is a little separated. That's what Tom Hanks's face looked like in a few scenes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if
Could have been just your. What's that?
Did you have that at your screening?
No, ours was like an ArcLight, so like. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
okay. All right, because I was just curious because I was just thinking half of the movie wasn't out of focus.
Yeah, they would refund you. They would refund you at ArcLight if it was out of focus like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this at a Regal Theater in Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I highly recommend The Post a lot. And actually, I highly recommend all the movies we talked about. But I think but I have but I have a feeling that The Post will be the big hit of the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think it's hitting in a very prevalent feeling among us the country right now. So,
yeah,
very
and
very relevant.
And I hope it does. And also, I kind of hope it does very well because this movie, even though it is a Oscar drama, it could technically have set up a sequel. Like it.
Yeah, like someone. I think someone tweeted like, "I like The Post, but I hate how it has like a stinger for The Post 2."
Yeah, and I kind of I know this makes me look bad, but I kind of would like to see Spielberg tackle Watergate.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. But I digress. I really love this movie. I highly recommend it. And yeah, I think it's fantastic. So Gene, is there any other movies from 2017 that came out recently, like that are that got a limited engagement that are now kind of opening up? Do you have any other smaller movies that you want to recommend before we go?
Not Bright. Definitely not Bright. But I will say I really liked Lady Bird. That was a tremendously well-made film. I really liked. Was it Don't Say It With Your Moms because I'll end up crying? I went with my mom, so that's nice. But yeah, no, it's really good. It's like if you went to a Catholic school like I did, like you get all the jokes in the film, and it's very it's like a perfect encapsulation of that like weird high school culture that goes on in Catholic schools. So yeah, definitely check that out. I love that. It's funny, like it's really funny. I laughed like a lot in a lot of scenes, so many scenes though. Yeah, definitely check out Lady Bird.
Yeah, I really liked Greta Gerwig's. I really liked her movie, and I think Saoirse Ronan is fantastic. And I saw not to get off topic, but I promise I'll get back on topic in a second. But I saw I, Tanya last night, and
also, I haven't seen that.
And I thought Allison Janney did a very good job as the Tanya Harding's mom. But the thing is, I still would love to see Laurie Metcalf win the Oscar, the Best Supporting Actress Oscar.
Oh yeah,
over Allison Janney, and I really love Allison Janney. And I really liked her in I, Tanya, but Laurie Metcalf for me, I think deserves the Oscar more. She's going through a lot of the emotions. She plays the mother of a strong personality teenage girl very well.
Yeah.
And believe me, as I was talking to Gene before the podcast, I kind of lived Lady Bird over the holidays. Yeah, and yeah. So, Gene, where can the good people find you? And didn't you do something on Bright recently?
Yeah, we did a Bright commentary. You could see it at the Waffle Press YouTube channel.
Awesome.
You should listen to the movie on mute and don't watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, Bright. Yeah, that's not a good movie. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, and then find me Gene9 892 on Twitter, Instagram, everything across the board.
All right. And all right, and you can find me at Movie KL on Twitter. You can also follow this podcast at the Youth Critic, and then you can also follow this channel at KHC Network. Gene, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everyone, please check out the Waffle Press. They are incredible. Him, Diego, and Nick do a really good show. Put on a really good show. Check them out. And Gene, I will see you soon.
Cool. Thank you, man, for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for being on.
Thanks.
Professor Perlman. Thank you so much. So nice.
Très confiant, hein? I can show you around.
That'd be great. Thank you. So what do you do around here?
Read books, transcribe music, swim at the river, go out at night.
Sounds fun. All right, later.
Sicuramente è meglio di quello dell'anno scorso.
Just watch. This is how we'll say goodbye to us when the time comes. Later.
Meanwhile, we'll have to put up with him for 6 long weeks.